All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to say call Haloyam Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Rakah Quitash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth and who rule well in this truth. Shalom to the 144,000 and the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel that is scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Peace and mercy unto you. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the true Hebrew Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You are the true chosen people of the book. All right, so what I want to get into is Zechariah, the 14th chapter, all right, the 12th verse. All right, I'm going to start off with this, so let's get it. Zechariah 14 and 12, it says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem." All right, now Jerusalem, all right, represents the nation of Israel. So what we're reading right here is that the Lord is going to send a plague upon all these heathen nations, all right, all these non-Israelite nations, all right, that have destroyed, enslaved, and oppressed the nation of Israel, the Israelites, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, throughout the course of history. Now, what is this plague? Let's keep reading, all right? But let's start from the top again, all right? Zechariah 14 and 12, it says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem." All right, so the Lord got a bone to pick with all these other nations, all right, that oppressed, enslaved, spoiled the nation of Israel, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans throughout the course of history, right? So let's see what this plague is, all right? "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. Woo! And their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." Now, what do you think is going to be able to do that, all right, to all these heathen nations? That's talking about the nuclear missiles, the ICBM missiles that carry multiple nuclear warheads within them, man. That's what's going to make the heathen nations, all right, the eyes of the heathen nations disappear in their holes. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, the scriptures say. Let's read that again. Just like when you watch Terminator Judgment Day, Sarah Connor, she's leaning on the fence, right? She sees the nuclear missile go off, right? While kids are playing, because that's how it's really going to be. You know, people are just going to be, living, their everyday lives. They're going to be at the clubs. Kids are going to be playing. People are going to have family gatherings, right? Then out of nowhere, nuclear bombs are going to drop, man. ICBM missiles are going to hit this place you call America. All right? Because America's destruction is written all throughout the scriptures, man. All throughout the scriptures. This is the will of the Heavenly Father. And this is what the true prophets and the true servants of the Lord are preaching and teaching and prophesying. You understand? These pastors in these Christian churches you go to see on Sunday, they are not the true prophets of the Lord. All right? They're not telling you about America's destruction, which is getting ready to happen very soon. You understand? Because America's destruction, all right, is at hand, which means the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right? Because once America's destroyed, that's the kingdom of heaven. All right? Because the elect is going to get beamed up into the chariots. What this current age calls a UFO, those flying orbs you see in the sky, those are the chariots. Those are the angels. All right, and that's how the elect is going to escape from the nuclear destruction. They're going to get beamed up into the chariots, all right, and they're going to watch the destruction of America from those chariots. Then after that destruction, all right, they're going to come back down from those chariots upon this earth and rule this planet Earth to be kings and gods and rulers with Yahweh Shai, because first and foremost is Yahweh Shai's kingdom, and he's going to share his throne with the elect. All right. So let's read this one more time. All right. Matter of fact, I could prove that with I think it's in Isaiah. Is it Isaiah? Give me a second. All right. Give me a second. All right, I got it right here. This is Isaiah 26:20. It says, "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers." The chambers is talking about the chariots, what this current age and current world calls a so-called UFO. All right, so we're going to enter into those chambers. All right. It says, "Come, my people." This is Isaiah 26:20. "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment." Yeah, because we're only going to be in those chariots, all right, to escape the nuclear fire, the nuclear destruction, all right, also known as the lake of fire, also known as the second death. We're only going to be in there for about 60 minutes. All right, because it's only going to take 60 minutes for America's destruction, for America to be destroyed. That's written in Revelation, the 18th chapter. All right, it's only going to take 60 minutes, 1 hour for America to be destroyed. So after America's going to be destroyed, we're going to come back down from those chariots. All right, so it says, "Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself as it were for a little moment, until the indignation of the Lord, until the indignation be overpassed." Yeah, so we're going to hide ourselves in the chambers, all right, in the chariots, until the destruction is done. And then we're going to come back down to rule this planet Earth with Yahweh Shai. It starts with Yahweh Shai, because this is Yahweh Shai's earth, and he's coming back from the spiritual realm, all right, to rule this planet Earth, because he created this earth for himself to rule on. All right, the scriptures tell you in the book of Colossians that the Lord created everything for himself. All right, matter of fact, let's see if I could grab that. All right, I think that's in Colossians. Let's grab it real quick. All right, the book of Colossians, the first chapter, right? Colossians 1:15. It says, "Who is the image of the invisible God," which is Yahweh Shai, right? "Who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature." He was the very first thing that was ever created. Yahweh Shai was always here. All right. "Who is the image of the invisible God?" All right. Yahweh the Most High. All right. "The firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth." Yeah, so Yahweh Shai created everything. All right. "By him were all things created," right? "For by him were all things created, that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him." All right. So the Lord created this earth just for himself. Yahweh Shai created this earth just for himself, just so he could rule on, man. All right. And that's exactly what's going to happen when Yahweh Shai comes back. He's going to rule on this planet Earth. Matter of fact, let's also prove that. All right. With 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, right? It says 1 Corinthians 15:23. It says, "But every man in his own order, Yahweh Shai the first fruits, afterward they that are Yahweh Shai's at his coming. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Most High Yahweh, even the Father, when he shall have put down all rule and all authority and power." So that's exactly what the Lord is coming back to do, to put down all rule and all authority and power. All right. No one on this earth is going to have power or authority when Yahweh Shai returns. All right. The only nation that's going to have power, authority, and rulership is the nation of Israel, starting with Yahweh Shai. All right, trickling down to the elect, the 144,000. All right, that's who's going to rule this planet Earth. All these other heathen nations, they're not going to rule. All right, they're going to be in subjection to the nation of Israel. They're going to be slaves, all right, and servants to the nation of Israel. You understand? You Negroes, you Latinos, you Native Americans. All right, you're the ones that are going to rule this time around. But your rulership is going to be forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. A billion years from now, we're going to rule this planet Earth. All right, the nation of Israel. You Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, starting with the elect. All right, because right now we're at the bottom. All right, but the scriptures say there's going to be a role reversal. All right, Luke the 16th chapter, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Who's last right now? The Negro, Latino, Native American man. Who's first right now? Esau, Edom, the so-called Caucasian man, right? But the Lord is getting ready to bring this man down. And this is the good news. This is the good news. That's what the word gospel means. All right, good news. It comes from the Greek word euangelion, which means good news. The good news is that the Lord is getting ready to take us up out of this hellhole that we're living in, from underneath the hand of Esau, Edom. We're living in hell right now. This ain't living. All right. This rulership under Esau, Edom, this ain't life. We were created to be immortal. It tells you that in the book of Wisdom of Solomon. And we are going to be immortal when Yahweh shall return, starting with the elect first and foremost. All right. Then the rest, then the 2/3 that didn't make it, they're going to come back in the kingdom of heaven through the loins of the elect, and they're also going to be immortal. All right. After they receive judgment, man. But they're going to be forgiven. All right. And come back through the loins of the elect as babies, as children. And then they're going to live forever too as well. All the nation of Israel is going to be saved. All right. But on this side, 2/3 have to die by nuclear destruction. All right. Or whether it be by the famine, you know, the time of Jacob's trouble, when these troops start pouncing on Jake, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and you see it happening right now with these ICE agents. All right, dropping down from helicopters, throwing flashbangs in people's apartments. That's going after Jake. That happened in Chicago. All right. But anyway, let's go back to what I was talking about. Let's go back to Zechariah, right? Give me a second as I flip through my pages, right? This is Zechariah, the 14th chapter, the 12th verse. It says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem." So the Lord is getting ready to avenge us. All right? All the people that have destroyed, slaughtered, spoiled, oppressed, enslaved the nation of Israel, which is you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all throughout the course of history, right? Even before we was known as Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, even when we still knew we were Israelites, we were being spoiled, enslaved, oppressed, all right? Going all the way back to the time of Judges, all right? You know, because during the time of Judges, we were enslaved, we were in captivity under Ammon, under Moab. You know? So the Lord is going to avenge us. All right? Is going to pay back the other nations for what they did to us throughout all the course of history. This is what this is talking about. And he's going to do it by the nuclear missiles. The nuclear fire that's going to rain on this earth in this third world war. All right? It says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem." Jerusalem representing the nation of Israel, right? It says, "Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet." What do you think is going to do that? All right? It says, "Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet." All right? That's going to be done by the nuclear destruction. Like I said, when you watch the Terminator, the Judgment Day, you see Sarah Connor leaning on the fence, and she sees the nuclear missiles being dropped. Then everything just turns into dust, mist. All right. You see her turn into a damn skeleton, right? The flesh just consumes away. It just melts off her body. Everything just turns into dust. That's exactly what's going to happen, bro. All right? And this should put, what I'm telling you should put fear in your heart, man. All right? This is going to put fear in the heart of the elect. And it's going to make the elect come back to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All right? Because you don't want to drown in that nuclear fire, bro. This is very serious, man. All right? Because you know what the elect is going to do, right? The elect is going to get their heads chopped off. Right? For not taking the mark of the beast, right? That's an automatic crown. The Lord said, be faithful unto death, and I shall give thee a crown of life. Right? But those who die for Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, and those that do not take the mark of the beast, they rather die instead. They're not going to be hurt by the nuclear missiles. They're not going to be hurt by the nuclear fire. Right? So it's better to get your head chopped off in an instant like that by the guillotine, right? Instead of drown in the nuke shit. I'd rather get my head chopped off, sliced off real quick, instead of being drowned by the nuclear fire, by the nuclear missiles, right? So matter of fact, let's get that real quick before I finish this verse, right? Because when you hear this word, when the elect hears this word, all right, it clicks with them, you know? Some quicker than others, some slower than others, right? Because I remember when I heard this word, it took me a little while, man, because, you know, my whole life I believed in plantation Christianity, right? So when I came into this truth, it took me a little while to adjust. Some people, it might take, you know, like that, you know? But, you know, what I'm trying to say is that when the elect hears this word, they gonna get it and they gonna understand. They gonna come back to you. They gonna have fear on them, bro. They gonna be like, oh, word, nuclear missiles about to hit. America about to be destroyed. Oh, say less. What I gotta do? What's the name of the Lord? Tell me the name of the Lord so I can worship him and come back to him and beg him for mercy and salvation. Since you talking about nuclear destruction. That's how the elect is gonna be, man. They're gonna stop what they're doing, stop all their wickedness, all their wicked ways, right? And come back to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. All right, and that's done gradually, man. Because not everybody stops cold turkey. You know, you might have some brothers that stop cold turkey, but you know they gradually they come back to the Lord more and more. You know, they start keeping the high holy days, the high feast and the Sabbaths and all that. You know, eventually they stop smoking. You know, whether it be cigarettes or bud, black and mild, cigars. You know, the elect gonna be like, all right, shoot, you know, and the scriptures say that we persuade men through the fear of the Lord. All right, because a lot of people don't know how the Lord operates. The Lord is to be feared. The Lord is to be feared so much that, bro, listen, we're talking about the same God, all right, that flooded this entire earth and drowned literally the entire earth and only left 8 people alive. You know who drowned in that flood? Grandmas and grandpas, pregnant women, little toddlers and little children playing around outside, infants, newborns. That's who drowned in that flood, man. That's how nasty the Lord is. All right, we're talking about that God. We're talking about the same God that slaughtered and killed all the firstborn of the Egyptians. And we're also talking about the same God that's getting ready to make it rain fire on this planet Earth. Literally. So you elect, all right, whoever you may be, if y'all listening to this video, you got to come back to Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. Right? Because what's getting ready to fall upon this earth ain't nothing nice. It ain't nothing sweet, man. You understand? All hell is getting ready to break loose out here, man. A time that this earth has never seen before is getting ready to take place, known as the time of Jacob's trouble. And right after that, the nuclear missiles are going to shoot off and rain upon this earth, especially here in America. You understand? All right? It ain't time to be playing games anymore, man. You know? You got to come back to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. All right? You don't want to drown in that nuclear fire. You don't want your flesh to consume away while you stand upon your feet, as we're reading, right? Because not only is that going to happen to the other nations that are here in America that are not of the elect, right? Because the other nations can't be of the elect anyway, right? But two-thirds of the nation of Israel, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, 2/3 of you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, all right, are going to drown and be engulfed and swallowed with America in that nuclear fire. If you're not of the elect and you're here in America, you're done. You're done. There's no hope. All right? So let's just read Zechariah 14:12 again. It says, "And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet. Their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth." What do you think is going to do that? The nuclear missiles. All right, the nuclear missiles. All right, so now let's also get Ezekiel. All right, because what did the Lord say in Ezekiel? Let's get it. Ezekiel 22 and 20. All right, Ezekiel 22 and 20. It says, "As they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace to blow the fire upon it, to melt it, so will I gather you in my anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you." Woo! The Lord said, I will leave you there and melt you. And that's what's going to happen to the 2/3 of you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, 2/3 of you Israelites, and all the other nations that are here in America. All right? And other parts of this earth are going to drown in nuclear fire as well. But America is destined, all right, for that nuclear destruction. All right? It is for certain and for surety, all right, that America is going to drown and be engulfed and swallowed by nuclear fire. All right? That prophecy is written all throughout the scriptures. All right? So the Lord said in Ezekiel 22 and 20, again, it reads, "As they gather silver and brass and iron and lead and tin into the midst of the furnace to blow the fire upon it, to melt it, so will I gather you in my anger and in my fury." Yeah, the Lord said he's going to gather you in his anger and in his fury. Right? All right. "So will I gather you in my anger and in my fury, and I will leave you there and melt you." Woo-hoo, the Lord is nasty, bro. The Lord said he's going to leave you there and melt you. And that's going to happen by the way of nuclear destruction. Thermonuclear missiles that are going to rain upon this earth in this third world war. That's getting ready to happen in, very, 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 very soon, man. All right? We ain't got too much longer here. All right? Verse 21, it reads, "Yea, I will gather you and blow upon you in the fire of my wrath." Woo! All right? "And ye shall be melted in the midst thereof." Woo! Bro, See, a lot of people don't understand who the Lord really is, or how the Lord works. The Lord is to be feared, bro. All right? All right? The Lord is to be feared. All right? If the Lord was all love, all right, like how these Christians think, right, there wouldn't be no reason to fear the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, right? But the Lord is to be feared, man. Why? Because the Lord kills. He destroys. He wounds. Right? Again, we're talking about the same God that flooded the entire earth and only left 8 people alive. The same God that killed all the firstborn of the Egyptians. The same God is getting ready to drown this earth by nuclear destruction. Right? So let's keep reading. All right. I was at Ezekiel 22 and 20, but now I'm in verse 22. It says, as silver is melted in the midst of the furnace, so shall ye be melted in the midst thereof. Woo! All right. And ye shall know that I, the Lord Yahweh, have poured out my fury upon you. Yeah. Because that's the nuclear missiles that are going to rain upon this earth in this third world war. That's the fierce anger and the fierce wrath of the Lord. That's the Lord that's doing that. Right? That's the anger and wrath of the Lord that's getting ready to rain upon this earth, which is the nuclear missiles. Right? Because the Lord said matter of fact, let's grab that real quick. That's 2nd Ezra 15, right? 2nd Ezra 15 and 6. It says, 2nd Ezra 15 and 6, it says, for wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth. Yeah, this earth is under whose rule? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, the so-called Caucasian man. That's who Esau, Edom is. All right, starting with the elite bankers. All right, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Collins family, right? That's who rules this planet Earth. They control every aspect of this earth. The water supply, the food supply. They're the ones that send GMOs into the food supply, right? They control the education system, right? They control the news. They control what you hear and what you see, right? They control what you eat, right? So starting with them, they're the ones that rule this planet Earth, right? Under Esau, Edom's rule, the so-called Caucasian man's rule, this earth is dwelling in wickedness, man. Because Esau, Edom, the so-called Caucasian man, being the wicked race that the Bible speaks of, all right? The Edomites are known as the wicked in the Bible. They're the wicked race that the Lord created, all right? So if the wicked is ruling, what do you think is going to spread on this earth? Wickedness, right? So that's why wickedness has exceedingly polluted this earth. And Esau, Edom has been in power since the Renaissance era, all right? The 1400s. Starting with, so that he's been in power for about 600 years. And look what he has done in 600 years. Completely destroyed this planet Earth. As soon as he came into power, he started lying. Started whitewashing everything. Iconoclasm, right? All right. So when you read 2nd Ezra 15 and 6, it says, for wickedness has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. So why has wickedness exceedingly polluted this earth? Because Esau is ruling, man. He's the wicked. So wickedness is gonna pollute the earth. All right. When you get Sirach, the 10th chapter, all right. It says, Sirach 10 and 1, it says, a wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. As the judge of the people, let me read that again, verse 2, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. Yeah. All right. So, you know, the top leader, however he is, that's how his officers are going to be. because he's going to teach his officers how he is, man, right? So Esau, Edom, being the ruler of this planet Earth, he's going to teach the rest of this earth wickedness, man. And that's exactly what he has done, right? So it says, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers. And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein. Yeah. So Esau, Edom right now, he's the ruler. All right. So if he's the ruler, the people are going to be wicked just like the ruler. Right? But the elect are not conformed to this world. All right? They are not of this world. All right? Because if they were of this world, then the world will love his own. That's why the true prophets and the true servants of the Lord, they are truly hated by this world, this current age. All right? That we live in. All right? Because they are not of this world. They teach against this world. They condemn this world for its wickedness. The true prophets of the Lord and the true servants of the Lord, they are nothing like this world. And that's why they are looked at so different and hated. They're completely the Lord took them out of this world. Right? Like Yahweh Shai said, I have taken them out of this world, man. You know? I have manifested thy name unto them, because the true prophets and the true servants of the Lord, they know the name of the Most High, which is Yahweh, and his son's name Yahweh Shai, right? Yahweh, the name of the Most High, right? And the son's name Yahweh Shai, Yahweh Shai. Those are the names you beg and ask for mercy and salvation. Those are the names you pray and bow down to. The name of the Lord is not God or Father God. The name of the Lord is not Jehovah. It's not Allah, right? It's not Ahia. It's not Yahweh. The name of the Messiah is not Jesus, right? It's not Yeshua or Yahshua or what is it? Yeshaya, some people say. No, the name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh. His son's name, Yahweh Shai. Those are the names you beg and bow down to and praise and worship and honor and glorify. Those are the names you ask and beg for mercy for, man. In all things, salvation, more wisdom, more knowledge, more understanding, for healing, for a more diligent spirit, for more focus, to take away distraction from you, to keep you on point. All things, man, for a job, you know, for daily bread, you know? All right, so let's go back into, again, I started off with Zechariah, all right, 14 and 12, all right? And this shall be the plague wherewith the Lord Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And that's talking about the nuclear destruction. All right, that's going to fall upon the nations. All right, and this goes hand in hand with Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right, because the Lord said that this plague is going to fall upon all the people that have fallen against Jerusalem, all of the nation of Israel's enemies. The Lord is going to avenge us and destroy them by the nuclear fire. The Lord is bringing all these nations together for World War III just so they could destroy themselves. And the Lord is doing that for us. The Lord is destroying them just so he could bring them down and raise us up. All right, and that goes hand in hand with Zechariah, Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right, because the Lord is he said he's gonna bring the nations into the valley of Jehoshaphat and plead with them there for his heritage, which is the nation of Israel. Let's read that, right? So Joel 3 And 1, it says, for behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. All right, so the Lord is going to take us up out of this captivity that we're in. All right, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom of Israel, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. The Lord is getting ready to take us up out of this hellhole that we're living in, out of this captivity, enslavement, and depression, and enslavement, depression, and oppression that we're in, man. You know, that's the gospel. The Lord is getting ready to give us the kingdom of heaven, immortal bodies, right? Perfect bodies, a perfect mind. All right? The Lord is getting ready to save us, man. All right? The elect, that is. All right? It says, Joel 3:1, for behold, in those days and in that time when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, right? I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Yeah, so the Lord, you see that happening right now. The Lord is gathering all nations for this third world war. Every nation is prepping and gearing up for this third world war that's getting ready to pop off. Right? If you don't live under a rock, you see it happening. Do you not know what's going on in the world? Do you see it? Are you just a zombie? Right? Smoking your blunt, eating pork. you eat a pork dinner, and then you go to go smoke on your blunt and watch some sports. You are a zombie, bro. And don't even know. That's how zombified you are. You're so brainwashed that the people of this earth are so brainwashed, they don't know they're brainwashed. They don't know that they're zombies and slaves. And there's an agenda at hand. You know? All right? People of this world don't know what's going on. Only the true prophets and the true servants of the Lord, all right, know exactly what's happening, all right, and why it's happening and what's going to happen before it happens, because they're prophets. They're visionaries. They can see the future. They're prophets, right? It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. The word Jehoshaphat comes from the Hebrew Yahweh Shaphat. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, and Shaphat meaning judgment. Yahweh's judgment. All right? So the judgment of the Lord Yahweh is to rain nuclear fire upon these nations. All right, that's also in Zechariah, the 3rd chapter, the 8th verse. Right? It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Bring them down into the Lord's judgment, Yahweh's judgment. Right? And will plead with them there. So the Lord is going to plead with them there by bringing them together and making it rain nuclear fire on each other. Right? The Lord is doing that for us. He said, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel. So the Lord is doing that for us. He's destroying these people for us, for everything they have done to us throughout the course of history. All the enslavement, oppression, all the spoilness, going all the way back to the time of Judges, man. You know? Right? Even all the way back to the garden. Because we wouldn't know sin unless if it wasn't for Esau, man. Back then, Esau was known as the sons of the wicked. All right, that serpent that was in the garden that fed Eve all that wickedness, and then she fed it to Adam, and that's how we fell. Right? That's how death was brought upon us, man. Because at that time we was immortal, right? So it says, Joel 3:2 again. It says, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Yeah, the other nations have scattered us through slavery. That's why the Israelites are all throughout the four corners of the earth. All right, that was part of prophecy. The Lord said he was going to scatter the nation of Israel from one end to the earth, even unto the other. That was one of the curses. All right, the Lord kicked us out of the Holy Land and put us on the other side of the earth. Yo, that's crazy. Yo, we're literally on the homeland, the promised land, all right? The land of Israel is literally on the other side of the earth. And we're over here in the fourth part of the world, in the Americas. And also other parts of this earth too, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Right? That's prophecy, man. All right? And the Lord is going to gather us from the four winds of the earth and drop us back into the Holy Land. All right? So these are these two scriptures right here that I brought out. All right? When you read Zechariah 14:9, and then you pair it with Ezekiel 20 and 22, right? Or 22 and 20. Is it 22? Let me get that again. Yeah, 22 and 20. So Zechariah 14:9, talking about the nuclear missiles flesh consuming away. While you stand, your eyes consume away in your holes. That's talking about the nuclear missiles raining down on the people. And the precept, the pair for that is Ezekiel 22 and 20 verse through 22. All right, Ezekiel 22 verse 20 through 22. All right, it's also talking about the nuclear missiles, man. All right, when you read Revelation, the 9th chapter, right? I'm gonna get out of here pretty soon because it's getting cold. I ain't got too much on. All right, when you read Revelation, the 9th chapter, right, starting at verse 13 down to 19, it's talking about the nuclear missiles as well, right? So you got Revelation 19. I'll start at not Revelation 19, Revelation 9. All right, Revelation 9. All right, starting at verse 13, it says, and the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar which was before the Most High Yahweh, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. The third part of men is talking about Esau, Edom, the Edomites, starting with the elite bankers. All right? Because men is classified into 3 sections, 3 groups. The sons of the wicked, the sons of men, all right, and the sons of God. All right, which the sons of the wicked are the Edomites, the sons of men are the other nations, the rest of the other nations, and the sons of God are the Israelites. Right? So the third part of men is talking about Esau, Edom, because that's the main reason why these nuclear missiles are going to hit, to take this man down, Esau, Edom, from power, from rulership. All right, they're going to be in their nuclear bunkers, right? And they're going to be taken out of their nuclear bunkers after we come down from those chariots. All right, and they're going to be the first set of slaves, right? It says, verse 15, it says, and the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the third part of men. The third part of men is talking about Esau, Edom, the Edomites. All right, that pairs with Isaiah 63, right? It says, now verse 16, this is the point, all right? It says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, all right, which is 200 million, all right, which is talking about missiles, all right? So 200 million missiles are going to be shot off in this third world war, right? 200 million missiles are going to be shot off in this Third World War. That's the army, all right, of the 200,000. It's talking about missiles, ICBM missiles, and all types of missiles, right? It's not talking about angels, all right, because you got some Israelite camps that break it down as angels. No, it's talking about missiles, man. And as we keep reading, it's going to break down to 200,000, right? So it says, starting at verse 16 again, it says, and the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, all right, which are missiles, all right? It says, and I heard the number of them, right? Verse 17, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, all right, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone, talking about the missiles, all right? And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. Yeah, out of the mouths of the heads of the lions, which is talking about the nuclear missiles, all right? Because the mouth will be the front part of the missile, right? Because the front part of the missile is where the actual warhead sits. So he said, out of the mouth of the lions. Let's read that again, right? Verse 17, it says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and of brimstone, talking about the missiles. And the heads of the horses, which is the front part of the missile, the heads of the horses were as heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone, which is talking about the actual front part of the missile, where the actual warhead is at, all right? Because that's the part that does the damage, where the explosion comes from. That's the actual the bomb in the front part of the missile, all right? Because the rest of the missile is just what propels it forward, right? But in the front part, the mouth area, right? That's where the actual bomb is at, all right? The warheads are at, all right? It says, and thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone, talking about the warheads in the front of the missile. All right, verse 18. And by these three was the third part of men killed. Again, third part of men talking about Esau, Edom. Yeah. And by these three was the third part of men killed by fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issue out of their mouths, talking about the warheads, right? It says, for in their power, it says, for their power is in their mouths, which is the warheads, all right? And in their tails, all right? Because what's in the tails, all right, of the missile, all right? The propeller, what propels the missile forward, right? It says, for their power is in their mouth, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, all right, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Woo! All right, talking about the missiles, and with them they do hurt. Come on, man. Let's read that again. It says, for their power is in their mouth, which is the warhead, and in their tails, which is the propeller, right? What propels the missile forward, right? For their tails were like unto serpents. Yeah, because when it's flying through the sky, it looks like a serpent, man. All right, you have something that's known as a mutant missile, which a mutant missile, all right, the warhead is able to pivot, all right, and change the direction of the missile. So it looks like a serpent, a flying serpent, right? So that's why it says, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, all right? And with them they do hurt, all right? And with them they do hurt, all right? The missiles, man. That's what that's talking about. 200,000, all right? Which is 200 million. You understand? All right? Now, I want to get Isaiah. Yeah, let's just get Isaiah real quick. Bump it, right? Isaiah 54, right? Isaiah 54. I'm just going through the spirit, bro. I didn't have a lesson or nothing like that, right? This is Isaiah 54:16. It says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. Because what is a smith? A blacksmith. A blacksmith is somebody that takes different metals and bangs them and forges them into different shapes to create different types of instruments, whether it be swords or axes, different types of weapons of war and all other types of instruments, screwdrivers, whatever, hammers, right? That's what a blacksmith does, right? He creates different types of instruments, right? So the Lord said, Isaiah 54:16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. Yes, and the modern day smith is the scientist. And what does the scientist do in the lab? All right, he's cutting nucleuses in half, atoms in half to create what? Atom bombs and nuclear bombs and all that, right? That's the instrument in this day that the smith is bringing forth, right? But the Lord said, I'm the one that created the smith, showing you that the Lord controls everything. He put it in the minds of Esau, Edom, in the minds of all these different scientists to be able to create these different type of things. See, a nuclear missile, right? A nuclear missile, an atom bomb, a nuclear bomb, that's the wisdom and knowledge of the Lord. We didn't come up with that type of knowledge. The Lord is the one that put the knowledge in the minds of the people to be able to do those things. Right? Because where do you even start when it comes to creating a atom bomb or a nuclear bomb or any type of bomb? Splitting and cutting nucleuses and atoms in half, right? That's the knowledge of the Lord. The Lord said, I'm the one that created the smith that blows because Esau, Edom, that's how proud he is, man. They think that they did it all on their own. They had all this wisdom and knowledge and created all this. No, the Lord is the one that put the knowledge in them to be able to do it, man. Why? To fulfill his word, to fulfill prophecy. Because it's prophecy for nuclear missiles to rain upon this earth. Duh. Right? So again, Isaiah 54:16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. Yeah, that waster is talking about these ICBM missiles, these nuclear bombs. These nuclear missiles that are going to be shot off in this third world war. That's the waster to destroy. The Lord said, I have created the waster to destroy. All right. Again, Isaiah 54:16, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. Yeah, the Lord is the one that rose up the man to create all these things, man. The Lord said, I created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire. He didn't just come up with this on his own. He didn't just wake up out of nowhere and have knowledge to create a atom bomb, a nuclear bomb. Oh, I know how to do this. No. The Lord gave that knowledge to Esau, Edom, man, to be able to do such things so he could destroy himself, so the Lord's word could be fulfilled. Right? Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. I have created the waster to destroy. Talking about these missiles, man. All right, and I'll leave it right there, man. That's enough. My hands is getting cold. Go back to the crib, man. All right. So, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. All right. Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Ratazad, this lesson is edifying. All right. Call Halal Yum, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakah, Quitash. All right. So on to the next one. Shalom, shalom.